appreciate the review of the Electoral Act. INEC is the constitutional body that is charged with the responsibility of the conduct of election at all levels. When I say all levels, it also includes at local level. We just conducted the FCT Area Council election, and we're also involved in the conduct of the state and the governorship election. We are also involved in the conduct of the presidential election as well as the National Assembly. Now, let me say that democracy and election for that matter, is the lifeblood of democracy. And according to Abraham Lincoln, the ballot is more powerful than the bullet. And also the ignorance of a voter is very inimical to the security of the nation. So that is why we cannot underscore the importance of the role of INEC as well as the civil society in guaranteeing a transparent and a credible election. Now let us talk about the new Electoral Act. You have gone through the Electoral Act from the beginning to the end, and we have looked at some of the contentious areas, especially in a country that is highly diverse. And then the landscape of the political landscape and the electoral landscape of Nigeria is very, very virulent. So therefore, what Nigeria needs is actually what I call a simple legislation, a simple language legislation, whereby it will be possible for every Nigerian to understand and appreciate the provisions of every section. INEC was involved in the process that produced the 2026 Electoral Act. The process started about 2 years ago, and a joint committee consisting of the members of the National Assembly, some civil society, as well as INEC was constituted. As at the time I was taking over, the work was almost concluded. But nonetheless, we still made some important provisions and recommendations in the new act. Now, even talking about the transmission of the results, you will notice that from the original provision that came out of the retreat from the National Assembly, it's not exactly what you have today. But when INEC came in, we talk of transmission should be mandatory. But let us be sincere and honest. The only problem that we had is how to define what we call real time. Let me take the FCT Area Council election that just took place. Now, there are 6 area councils in FCT. The results came out on time in 5 area councils. But in Kuje Area Council, we have 10 wards. And the result in one ward, Kabi ward, did not come until the following day, Sunday. Now, on Saturday, when we mobilized and sent people to that ward, from Kuje town, Kabi ward is about 3.5 hours drive, and the terrain is very bad. So I was worried. When we sent our pool officers and security agencies to that ward, the moment they entered that place, we could not reach them. They were not accessible on phone, and nobody could speak to them until we had to send somebody on Saturday morning, just to be sure that they were safe. Before we now got the results, they brought results to Kuje town, and then it was collated along the remaining 9 wards before the result could be declared. I don't see the issue of transmission as really a problem. I don't see the issue because from my little experience over 4 months now in INEC, the problem is not even network. The problem I have seen is the adequacy of the network we have. For instance, you will expect that in a place like FCT, you should be able to transmit your results without any encumbrance. But we had a situation where it was impossible for us to have a real-time transmission of results, especially from Kabi ward on the following day. And in some of the wards, some results were transmitted. So, talking about logistics, I've said it often and often, that logistics, your election can be as good as your logistics. So where there's logistic failure, you know that you are beginning to fail. Before the election, We had meetings with various groups, including the media and the civil society organizations. And I stated very clearly that as far as the election is concerned, we should be able to determine what is a successful election. And a successful election is based on logistics. Number one, if you want to measure whether an election is successful, you have to determine whether the election started as advertised. And we advertised the election for 8:30. So if we're able to start the election at 8:30, and number two, if the election is peaceful, number three, if we're able to manage the result very well, that is result management, and then declaration of results, then you can say you have a successful election. As a regulatory body, we were determined to achieve all this. But nonetheless, we have to admit that there were some logistic issues. Some were purely human, which we are trying to address. And let me just appeal to Nigerians, because I have noticed now that what Nigerians desire is a perfect election. And INEC will strive as much as possible to give this country the best election. However, we may not be able to achieve 100% perfect election for now. But as far as electronic transmission of results is concerned, I said it before FCT Area Council that we have the capacity to transmit the results, and that we're going to transmit the results. The only concern was real time. What is real time? For instance, if you use your app to make a transfer from your account, even in Abuja town, you are transferring 50,000 to Mr. B, and from your app, the amount has gone. But the person may not receive the alert until another 30 minutes, another hour, or even in the evening. So those are some of the things. And when you say it is real time, as soon as it is done, it must be received. So result management and logistics are two basic issues that from our own end, we're trying to see how best we're able to manage it very well, so as to enhance the transparency and credibility of the system.
Thank you so much, Prof. I really appreciate it. Can we please put our hands together for Professor Joash Amputon? So we are looking for a member of INEC staff. His name is Glitch.
It's eliminated. The glitch, by God's grace, will not surface in Nigeria. And when I even look at the proviso to Section 63 of the Electoral Act, during the last FCT election, apart from that delay, we didn't have any transmission failure. Meaning that it's just a proviso, a safety if it fails. And during my tenure, it will never fail. That is the determination. Yeah. If it fails, if it doesn't fail, then result. Even if it fails, the result must be transmitted. But the only problem is if it fails to do real-time transmission, as we had in that word, that is the major problem. Now, addressing about the glitch, election now anywhere is about technology. But before you deploy any technology, it is important for you to test that technology very well. So my own audit of the 2023 election is to the fact that while the BVAS was tested within the states for Osun election, Ekiti election, however, when it came to the federal election, especially the presidential election, that now became interstate, it was not properly tested. So one of the things we are trying to do before the election, we're going to have a mock presidential election, so that we are sure that this transmission across the state must not fail.
Thank you so much, Prof. So the guarantee, and I wish that you can look into the camera and promise Nigerians that under Professor Joash Amputon, election of 2027 will be the best ever. Is that a promise that you can give us?
By the grace of God, election of 2027 will be the best election that Nigerians will have. Because Nigerians of 2023 is different from what you have in 2027. People are much more aware. And you know the correlation between election and development. Nobody is happy about the classification of Nigeria as an underdeveloped country. So we want a situation where our process will be able to guarantee the confidence and the legitimacy that people will want to see in their system. So So by the time you have a transparent election and people begin to trust INEC and trust their leaders, then the country will move forward.
Thank you so much, Prof. You need a good luck handshake, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Please, let's put our hands together again for Professor Joash Amopito.